I was very skeptical about the Breath of the Wind when I found out that it's an open-world game. My first thought was, is it gonna feel like Zelda? Now I know that makes me sound like some crotchety old grandpa saying that, oh, we should never change games, we should keep them all the same, but just hear me out. I've been burnt too badly by innovation too many times, with a prominent example being with the original Wii, and how in most games, they forced motion controls in where it didn't really belong, and most of us ended up using the GameCube controller whenever we were allowed to. And just look at Super Smash Bros. They didn't have motion controls in that, and the controller itself, the Wii controller, is completely worthless. Everybody would just use a GameCube controller. Now, I'm a die-hard fan of Zelda. I replay every 3D Zelda game every year and a half, just so it doesn't stay fresh in my memory and it feels like I'm playing a new game. And I've 100%ed most of them. Needless to say, I'm very particular about what I expect from a Zelda game. And this is even more so after Skyward Sword, because I absolutely abhorred that game. But that's a story for another time. In the case of Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, I really don't care about whether or not it's going to feel like Zelda. This is because when I started watching the live stream yesterday, I was glued to my computer for the entire day, just taking notes and speculating about the details of the game. I'm fascinated by the game, and it seems like it's actually going to be a refreshing breath of fresh air, instead of Call of Duty exosuit syndrome. We'll go into that aspect later, but today we'll just be doing the story and all of the ideas which came into my head when I was watching the gameplay footage. Why, you ask? Well, to be brutally honest, most nerds like me don't have any die-hard Zelda fans to talk to about these theories and minute details, so I guess I'm doing this in the hopes that I could sort of throw a debate about the game. But this being the internet, I'm pretty sure I'm just gonna be called a fucking moron or something along those lines, instead of having us talk like normal, civilized individuals. So please don't be a dick, I guess? But we're getting off topic, so without further ado, let's dive into this episode's section of analysis. See, I'm very torn on this one. On one hand, there are the Koroks, which indicate that this is taking place in the Wind Waker timeline. This is because the Koroks presumably evolved from the Kokori in order to adapt from the Great Flood. However, as anybody can see plain as day in any of the gameplay footage, there's no flood. Well, at least in this point in the Breath of the Wild. So, if it is in the Wind Waker timeline, it's either going to be sometime before the Great Flood or sometime after the Great Flood, in which the game takes place in the New Hyrule. And an important detail about this is that I haven't played Spirit Tracks. And that's mainly because I'm broke, it looks like shit, and I don't want to waste my money on it. So I may be missing some key details which lead to other theories, but just let me know in the comments if there is anything I'm missing. But this being said, I'm leaning more towards the latter in this scenario, or the fact that we're at a new Hyrule after the Flood, if we are in the Wind Waker timeline, that is. See, the land seems very largely untamed, and that's just like an undiscovered island would be. However, this is just a tech demo, and they stated that there will be more people in towns in the actual game. So again, I can't say this for sure, but the old man's dialogue suggests that the Wind Waker timeline might be the wrong choice entirely. He mentions that the kingdom is in a state of decay, meaning that we'd be on traditional Hyrule. That is, if this is Hyrule Kingdom, since this hasn't been said it's been Hyrule, at least to my recollection. Regardless, the state of decay of a kingdom also brings another idea to mind. Another idea I have is that this is in the Twilight Princess timeline. But why would you think that, Hanson, you might ask? Well, this might be a stupid reason, but just listen to the music in the gameplay videos when you exit the cave. Part of it is a rendition of the Twilight Princess theme, which I'll admit is a pretty poor reason to justify my timeline, but I've got more reasons to support this claim, so don't just click off the video just yet. Twilight Princess was a 3D higher definition game, which very suddenly sent you into deserts, snowy mountains, the ruins of the Temple of Time, and the sky itself. So Twilight Princess focused very heavily on realism and plausibility in many ways. So going from a snowy mountain to a desert was just more justifiable than it was in other Zelda games like Majora's Mask and A Link to the Past. To my current recollection, Twilight Princess is the only 3D game that's later in the timeline that has the Temple of Time in ruins with such varied environments. Also, Breath of the Wind is dripping with technology, and we see some very similar technology in the Temple of Time level in Twilight Princess. An example being that those Guardians of the Master Sword, which make you do that stupid puzzle, and the Dominion Rod. Also, note how the magic technology is all blue, just like the Sheikah Slate in many instances in the Breath of the Wild. But alas, we have such little information, and I don't have access to Breath of the Wild, so I cannot confirm any of this, and I'm probably just blatantly wrong, but I assume the comment section will tell me that anyways, so... I also wanted to mention that I heavily doubt that this game will be set even further before Skyward Sword, which was a possibility in my mind, but the thing is, in the main artwork for Breath of the Wild shows the Master Sword, and it's very rusted. Now, this means that the Master Sword would have had to have been made by now. And again, this is all conjecture and probably easily falsifiable, but hey, that's why this is called a speculation video. Unfortunately, for this, we just don't know enough. I mean, I assume that he's supposed to be reminiscent of the original "It's dangerous to go alone" old man, but it's probably not that same old man. This is because he isn't present in Zelda 2: A Link's Adventure. I mean, he may be omnipresent or alive indefinitely, or even Rauru or Kaipora Gapora, but speculation for another time. He's the basis of the story in the game from what we can tell so far. So I assume knowing him and who he is a spoiler, so I haven't really done any research in this section for that reason alone. So those are my speculations on the story for The Legend of Zelda: A Breath of the Wild. Please let me know what your guys' thoughts are on this as well. I'm genuinely curious and intrigued by this game, and I cannot wait to play it. In the next few videos, I'm going to be a bit more critical about some of the points in the gameplay, and talk about some things I already love about the game. I don't have a specific order in which these topics will be presented, but until then, you can just call me Hanson. Later.